Back with another rendition of Interesting Discourse on today's topic, the philosophy of the red pill talk, the manosphere. The manosphere. What is the manosphere? Some might ask. There's been a slew of men activists, I would say, men advocating for men, uh, men coming together with an ideal of encouragement in some ways or less, uh, of propelling certain ideas of being rich or whatnot, uh, conveying a message to the masses on you have to get rich, you got to have money to get women, you have to be dominant to pull the most women, right? You have to, these are just some of the ideals that I hear of. And I'm like, okay, all right, I'm listening. And I'm like, wow, it's to some degree to with someone with no, I would say, experience on how to deal with women are lacking in that department. It can be very misleading because they can go down a rabbit hole depending on the people that they listen to. And what is that rabbit hole, you may ask? I would say the rabbit hole would become, right, them uh originally coming for an ideal on how to be a better man, but in return they end up worse. Why? Because they're internalizing all these ideals and not being able to process that information quickly enough, and they might be found on a latter end hating women rather than loving women and being on one accord with each other, one accord with each other. So they might find themselves at odds with women or being more bashful towards them. And, to meet what is due, to meet what is due. So in some instances that might apply, but not all, right? And it just made me wonder, like, what is this? This was no such topic into the early 2000s or the 90s or the 80s or the 70s. I would say in the 70s and the 60s, for the most part, men understood their role, women understood their role. These are new age philosophies and ideologies. And that's not to bash the manosphere, because I am an advocate of a man being a man, the manliest man that he can be, and a woman being the most feminine that she can be. I'm an advocate for that. My issue with is, my discrepancy would be that, it's a wormhole, right? And I just want to go on I want to introduce you to the philosophy of the manosphere. I pulled this from Wikipedia, of course, by way of Google. A lot of us get our information via Wikipedia. The philosophy of manosphere, introduction, right? The Manosphere is a heterogeneous group of online communities that includes men rights activists, incels, involuntary celibates, right? Men going their own way, pickup artists, fathers' rights groups. Some of these groups have adversarial relationships with one another. Debbie Ging writes that several groups, such as MRAs and PUAs, exaggerate their differences in displays of in-fight posturing in spite of the fact that their philosophies are almost identical. While the specifics of each group's ideology sometimes conflict, the general ideology of Manosphere group centers on the promotion of masculinity, good. Strong opposition to feminism is good, and misogyny, that's good. Those are not bad things, right? Those things are in general that was just listed, right? Like I say, I'm an advocate of men being the manliest of men and a woman being the feminist of feminists, right? But I would say when I say it goes down a rabbit hole with some of these ideologies, meaning some people are not able to decipher the information and they become more rash, more what is the word I'm looking for? More, hold on, it's gonna come to me. Radical, right? Some of these groups can be radical, you know, because to be honest, the men that I encountered in my life that never had issue with women or getting women, we are not having a conversation on, oh, woman this, woman that. We're more so focused on, hey, how can I be a better man? How can I be a better leader? How can I be a better leader so I can lead that woman that is following behind me? Because let's be real, women have an women have an uh a natural inclining the inclination towards following their man. So a woman, your woman is a reflection of you, vice versa. Let's just be real. So the women that y'all picking up are not necessarily ideal partners for long-lasting relationships. So it might entail something about your character, because real men that I know, they're not going out scouting and analyzing the world based on a scientific lens. It's more so we analyze it more so from a spiritual perspective, right? Because the Bible entails it all, and I want to go into that. Right? So while the specific of each group ideology sometimes conflict, the general ideology of manosphere groups centers on a promotion of masculinity, a masculinity and strong opposition to feminism and misogyny. Nothing wrong with that. Let's go on. It says journalist Caitlin Dewey argues that the main tenets of the manosphere can be reduced to one: the corruption of modern society by feminism and violation of inherent sex differences between men and women, and the ability of men to save society or achieve sexual prowess by adopting a hyper masculine role and forcing women to submit to them. See, that's when it get more is on the radical side of things, right? That's why I would like to go into this. Let's just be real now. I analyze this to the biblical lens, right? I want to go into a scripture, Jeremiah 31 and 22, pretty much entailing the latter times, the end times that we would be in as a society, right? It's a, how long wilt thou go about, O thou backsliding daughter? For the Lord hath created a new thing in the earth. A woman shall compass a man. Women fill corporate offices. Women have a broader platform. Men that entail rights are shut down by way of media, right? We don't have that many platforms. It says a woman shall compass a man. Those are the end times, guys. That's prophecy right there, written thousands of years before we got here, straight in the Bible. So when I see these ideology and these philosophies, right, I don't view it from a scientific standpoint. A scientific standpoint. I view it more so from a spiritual lens. Right? So say a woman shall compass a man, and as I was stating earlier, your woman is a reflection of you as much as your kids are, right? We can only attract who we are. That's a true saying. Scriptures say, can two walk together lest they be agreed? Can two people come together lest they agree? That is the intel of any relationship. That is the groundwork of any relationship. Agreeance, right? So I want to go into this, right? Proverbs 31. You might ask, well, you're talking about the women being a certain way. Well, what are the qualities that these women shall have? Do they exist? Is there a need for a manosphere in the red pill community? Well, let's see what the scriptures say. Proverbs 31:10. Who can find a virtuous woman? Notice it says who. Who can find a virtuous woman? That means they're not, they that means they're not a bountiful. They come a dime a dozen, right? They come a dime a dozen. They're rare. It say, who can find a virtuous woman? For her price is far above rubies. Guess what? You can't buy one of these, folks. You can't buy one of these women. You get on Instagram and you see that woman with 1 million followers and all the celebrities is in their DMs trying to get a piece of that for what? A price. You can't buy these women. They're righteous. They're righteous women. You can't buy these women. I don't care how much you offer her. These women exist out here, but you probably can't see that. Look, the men not having these conversations, guess what? Man, they get home, there's food cooked on the table, and they have no inclination of mind that their woman is sneaking out behind them. They're in solemn peace when they get home. These women exist. You don't see them. They're not on social media. They don't live for social media. They're not trying to be seen. They're not trying to be seen, and you can't buy them. So who can find a virtuous woman? They exist. I have one. It says, the heart of her husband doth safely trust in her, so that he shall have no need of spoil. She will do him good and not evil all the days of her life. You see that? She shall do him good and not evil all the days of her life. It said her husband doth safely trust of her. Right? Now I want to go down. Right? We touching on the manosphere, the ideologies and the philosophies, what they believe in. Some of them say, hey, well, you have to obtain carnal fixations of life to obtain these women or a lot of women. Well, that's depend on the quality of woman. Do you want a wife? Or do you just want somebody to fornicate with? Which I don't advise. Sin. I don't advise that. This is from the righteous lens here. How a righteous man will view these topics or these ideals, right? It says, and I'm going to jump down to verse 30. It said, favor is deceitful and beauty is vain. The beauty of a woman means nothing. So you are dumbfounded when you see this woman on Instagram or media, right? Man, what it takes to be with her. Man, scriptures say beauty is vain. It don't mean nothing. So what? Everything that look good ain't good for you. And it goes to show. Look at her values. All she care about is a purse and what you can do for her. She can barely provide for herself. She worried about what you can do for her. You know, scriptures say opposite of that. It say beauty is vain. It say, but a woman that feareth the Lord, she shall be praised. Men like me are praising these women. You know what? Men like me are praising these women. Like, go, do your thing, sis. You know, you might be hidden. You a diamond in the rough. You might be hidden. She don't have to be publicized. Us men with these women, man, we live peaceably with our woman. We do. It says she shall be praised. And another thing is, another thing as well, right? you hear these topics and these discussions on media. It's all on media. This is what scripture would tell you to do. This is 2 Timothy 2:16. It says, but shun profane and vain babblings, for they will increase unto more ungodliness. You get in this rabbit hole. Oh, well, in order for me to get this woman with the 2 million plus followers, oh man, she looked like one of those models. What? I have to develop, I have to get a career. I have to get a nice car. I have to get jewelry. I have to get chains. I have to get clothes. Right? All these carnal aspects that you have to add unto yourself. Set your heart aright. For your heart is, there your treasure will be also. Set your heart aright. You worried about all those things carnally, but what about spiritually? That's why I said those ideologies are what? Those ideologies are a segue unto ungodliness. Why? You might ask, well, why? What do you mean? What do you mean? It's an alternative lifestyle. That's why. It is an alternative lifestyle. It's an alternative lifestyle to supersede biblical principles. And nothing can supersede biblical principles, because the foundation of the world were laid on it. And that is the only way for society to be conducive, for things to be a conglomerate and to work together. So all those things are written. King James, open up your King James Version, man, and read. Examine the righteous men, examine the righteous women, examine the fall of people, examine the uprising of people and civilizations. It's all mentioned there. It says, but shun profane and vain babblings. That's just talking. Oh, yeah, man. Yeah, we got to stand up together. Red pill, right? Red pill. Hey, man, do this, do that. Not all the things that they share are wrong. You should work. You got to pay bills, right? But that shouldn't outweigh your overall spirit. What things are you adding unto yourself to make you a better man? Right? Because look, it seems like the more you add on to yourself, the less it take away from your spirit, right? Your individuality, who you are. Some people don't want to step in a club and put on this facade of being liked and being a certain way. Some people don't want to do that. Me, I like to just stay in the house. I don't want to be seen. I don't have to be seen. I do exceptionally well in the house. Go to my workplace environment, come home, and I'm chilling. Not all men want to be seen. Not all men want to be flashy. So it's about what you want in life. What do you want out of life? You want to live for a woman? You know the crazy thing is, when these topics and these discussions are being held, these men couldn't stand to be alone by themselves. They're always advocated towards getting women. So isn't that necessarily you're still under the coattail of a woman? You're still letting the woman lead if that's your focus on having all these things? Think about it now. Because guess what? When you add these principles unto yourself, those are an addition to you. You're not looking, oh yeah, well, I'm going to be more polite for a woman, right? That's not something you usually do, right? I'm gonna be more kind. I'm gonna be more what would I say? Self-leading. Those are not things that you would do to necessarily that it would benefit a woman. It'd benefit you in more ways or less, right? Carnally, Carnally, the world aspect of it is, guess what? I'm gonna get a car for this woman. Well, I'm gonna dress nice for this woman so I can pull more women in to me. Have them look at me more. Well, you still serving that woman. We have idolized women in this society. They have and you have. Because guess what? That's all you think about. That is all you think about. That's why we here. That's why we having a discussion. That's why. But it's okay because I know that a lot of men out there are seeking answers. Again, they just end up in a rabbit hole. It says, but shun profane and vain babblings, for they will increase unto more ungodliness. What is ungodliness? I'm going to go down to 2 Timothy 3:1. This know also that in the last days perilous times shall come. Most of us know that these are the last days. For men shall be lovers of them own selves. Men talking about women too, right? Men and women, right? Of them own selves. Covetousness, boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy, without natural affections, truce breakers, false accusers, incontinent, fierce, despisers of those that are good, traitors, heady, high-minded, lovers of pleasures more than lovers of God, right? Lovers of sex, lovers of wealth, lovers of yourself more than lovers of God, having a form of godliness, but denying the power thereof. From such turn away. Scripture telling us to turn away from y'all. Got the form of godliness. Oh yeah, man, brother. We gotta stick together as men. Red pill, man. We gotta do that. Man, you living for a woman, bro. You live for a woman. Your whole existence is to live for this woman, to get more unto you. Man, we not paying no attention to you, bro. We not paying no attention to you. You talk about you a man. You talk about you a man. Oh, this is what you got to do. But your whole existence, your whole mantra is, I'm doing this so that woman, so I can get any woman I want. So I can get any woman I want. That's living for a woman. You slaving to him either way it go. So the whole point was to pull away from the chains and the ideologies of serving the woman, right? But inadvertently, you're still holding fast to that idea because everything you do is for what? Their pleasing. Look, man, let's just conclude this. This is Ecclesiastes 12:13. This is what we got to do. You want to know why you can't find a woman? You know why all the women you run across is BS? They're all the descriptions that we just described in 2 Timothy 2. They're lovers of them own selves, right? Proud, unthankful, without natural affection. You want to know why? It's because we lack principle. We lack morality. We live in an immoral society. And morals are the only thing that kept civilization intact. It says, Ecclesiastes 12:13. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Let's hear the conclusion of this conversation. Fear God, respect him, right? Fear God, respect God, and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. That's the whole duty. So guess what? That woman that you're talking about that's just so into herself, she only want men with money. She only want men with this. She only want people that can do this for her. Guess what? If it was a righteous woman, that wouldn't even be something that crosses her mind. A righteous woman are not worried about those carnal things. A righteous man is not worried about those carnal things. So they're going to work. Those people are going to work. Those people are going to work. You throw God out the picture, man. You throw law out the picture. Everything go to hell. Everything fall. Everything fail. So let me read it again. It said, this is Ecclesiastes 12 and 13. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Let's sum this up, right? Fear God and keep his commandment, for this is the whole duty of man. It wouldn't be no need for red pill or manosphere or feminism or rights activists if we would just, guess what? Fearing God and keeping his commandments. That's why I say they are all alternative lifestyles. Alternative lifestyle to supersede things that was written that kept society intact for the children of Israel, God's people, us, the Negro, the so-called Negro, the Native American, and Latino, scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. If we did that, that wouldn't even be a talking topic. That wouldn't even be a subject. That's why we have to point to all these different places, all these different sources, rather than the source, right? You're going to a source. I'm looking at the source. The Bible's the source, y'all. King James Version. Pick it up. Read it, man. It'll show you the secrets of life in detail. But you got to open your heart up and your mind towards learning. I'm going to leave y'all with that. Hopefully this answers some questions. Hopefully it gave clarity and some understanding. I'm out.